You're driving down a deserted highway, the GPS leads you further away from civilization, and the last sign of life you saw was a faded welcome sign to Lake County. The darkness is only illuminated by the faint moonlight, and the silence is deafening. It's here, in this isolated corner of the world, that a series of gruesome murders took place, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a community paralyzed by fear. As you step into the shoes of the investigators, you're met with an eerie feeling that something is off. The year was 1995, and Lake County was a peaceful haven, nestled between the rolling hills and serene lakes. But beneath the surface, a sinister force was brewing. The first victim, a young woman named Sarah, was found brutally murdered on the outskirts of town. Her body was discovered in a ditch, with no signs of struggle or evidence of the killer. The only clue was a small, silver necklace found near her hand, engraved with the initials JS. As the news of the murder spread, the town was gripped by fear, and the police were under pressure to catch the killer. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the case went cold, leaving behind a haunting question: what happened to Sarah, and who was responsible for her brutal murder? As the years passed, the case of Sarah's murder became a distant memory, a dark stain on the town's history. But in 2010, a new discovery was made, one that would reignite the investigation and send shockwaves through the community. A second victim, a man named John, was found dead in his home, with the same modus operandi as Sarah's murder. The silver necklace with the initials JS was found near his body, and the police realized that they were dealing with a serial killer. The investigation was reopened, and the detectives were determined to catch the killer, but as they dug deeper, they uncovered a web of secrets and lies that led them down a twisted path of deceit and betrayal. You're now part of the investigation, and you have to navigate the complex world of forensic evidence, eyewitness accounts, and suspect interviews. But as you get closer to the truth, you start to realize that nothing is as it seems, and the killer may be closer than you think. As the investigation unfolds, you're presented with a cast of characters, each with their own secrets and motives. There's the reclusive neighbor, who seems to be hiding something behind his friendly demeanor. The local businessman, who has a reputation for being ruthless and cunning. And the young woman, who was seen arguing with the victim just days before his murder. As you interview each suspect, you start to piece together a timeline of events, but the more you learn, the more questions you have. The detectives are working around the clock, following leads and gathering evidence, but the killer always seems to be one step ahead. You're now part of the team, and you have to use your skills of observation and deduction to help catch the killer. But as you delve deeper into the case, you start to realize that the truth is more complex than you ever imagined, and the killer may not be the only one with secrets to hide. Just when you think you're getting close to the truth, a shocking twist throws everything off balance. A new suspect emerges, one who has been hiding in plain sight the entire time. The evidence points to a surprising culprit, and the investigation takes a dramatic turn. You're now faced with a new set of questions, and the killer's motives are more complex than you ever imagined. The detectives are reeling from the revelation, and the community is left to wonder how this could have happened. As you try to make sense of the new evidence, you start to realize that the truth is often hidden in plain sight, and the most unlikely person can hold the key to unlocking the mystery. But as you get closer to the truth, you start to feel a sense of unease, as if the killer is still out there, watching and waiting. The arrest of the suspected serial killer sends shockwaves through the community, and the town is left to pick up the pieces. The victims' families are finally able to find some closure, but the trauma of the events will linger for years to come. As you reflect on the case, you're left with a haunting question: how could this have happened in a small, peaceful town like Lake County? The investigation may be over, but the impact of the crimes will be felt for generations to come. You're now part of the community, and you have to come to terms with the fact that the killer was hiding in plain sight, and the truth was more complex than you ever imagined. As you try to make sense of the aftermath, you start to realize that the true horror of the crimes lies not in the actions of the killer, but in the darkness that lurks within every human heart. As we look back on the case, we're left with more questions than answers. The suspected serial killer is behind bars, but the true extent of their crimes may never be fully known. The community is still reeling from the shock, and the victims' families are struggling to come to terms with their loss. You're now part of the story, and you have to wonder, what drove the killer to commit such heinous crimes, and how can we prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future? The case of the Lake County serial killer is a stark reminder that the darkness is always lurking, waiting to strike. As you reflect on the events, you start to realize that the true horror of the crimes lies not in the actions of the killer, but in the darkness that lurks within every human heart. And as you try to make sense of the truth, you're left with a haunting question: what if the killer is still out there, waiting for their next victim? As you finish watching this video, you're left with a haunting question: what if the killer is still out there, waiting for their next victim? Join the discussion in the comments below, and share your theory on the case. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime content, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on the latest videos. And as you walk away from this story, remember that the darkness is always lurking, waiting to strike. So, stay vigilant, and always be aware of your surroundings. Because in the world of true crime, the truth is often more terrifying than fiction.